Today, we're diving into a story that could reshape the future of Asia: the rising water tensions between China, India, and several other nations. With China building massive dams on rivers that flow into neighboring countries, water is no longer just a resource, it's becoming a weapon of power and control. India is already planning its own megadam in response, and experts warn this could spark a new kind of conflict, a water war. Stay with us as we break down what's happening, why it matters, and how it could affect millions of lives. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into the world's most pressing stories. Water has always been one of the most vital resources for human survival, but today it is increasingly becoming a tool of power, politics, and even potential conflict. Right now, Asia is witnessing a silent struggle that many are calling the beginning of a water war. At the center of this conflict is China, a country that controls the headwaters of some of the most important rivers in the region, rivers that flow into India and several other nations. By building massive dams upstream, China holds the ability to control the flow of water downstream, giving it a significant strategic advantage over its neighbors. This issue is no longer just about development or energy production. It has transformed into a geopolitical weapon that could decide the fate of millions of people. The story becomes even more serious when we look at the Yarlung Tsangpo, a powerful river that begins high in Tibet and eventually becomes the Brahmaputra once it enters India. This river is not only a lifeline for millions, but also a symbol of security and stability for India and Bangladesh, which depend on it for agriculture, energy, and daily survival. Recently, China began the construction of the world's largest hydroelectric dam on this river, near the Great Bend in Tibet. This project, announced as a source of clean energy and development, has raised alarm bells across South Asia. India, which lies downstream, fears that China could use this dam to control the water supply, either by reducing the flow during critical seasons or by suddenly releasing massive amounts of water that could trigger floods. For a country already battling monsoon challenges and climate-related floods, this is a chilling prospect. India has not remained silent in the face of this challenge. In response to China's move, India has announced plans to build its own megadam on the Siang River, which is the same river system that turns into the Brahmaputra. This dam, costing over $13 billion, is expected to generate around 11,000 megawatts of power, making it one of the largest hydroelectric projects in the world. While India presents this as an answer to China's growing influence, the project is not without controversy. Environmentalists warn that the ecological cost could be devastating, from the destruction of forests and displacement of local communities to the risk of earthquakes and landslides in an already fragile Himalayan region. For many, this feels like an arms race, except instead of weapons, it's dams, massive structures that have the power to shape the future of entire nations.
But this issue doesn't stop at India and China alone. Rivers flowing from Tibet also reach other nations, including Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and Myanmar. These countries too depend on the steady flow of water for agriculture, fishing, and electricity. Any major disruption upstream could mean droughts during one season and catastrophic floods in another. This is why analysts describe the situation as a multi-country crisis waiting to unfold. Water, which should be a source of life and cooperation, is slowly turning into a trigger for regional instability. The roots of this conflict lie in more than just the building of dams. Over the last few decades, water treaties around the world have come under immense strain. In South Asia, the Indus Waters Treaty between India and Pakistan has already faced threats of suspension, showing how fragile such agreements can be when political tensions rise. In the case of China and India, the situation is even more complicated because there is no legally binding water-sharing treaty between them. That means China, being the upstream country, can act unilaterally, building dams and redirecting water without needing approval from its neighbors. This power imbalance has created deep mistrust and suspicion, fueling the fear that water could become the next major weapon
in geopolitical rivalries. Economically, the stakes are enormous. Millions of farmers in India and Bangladesh depend on the Brahmaputra for irrigation. Millions more rely on it for fishing, transportation, and drinking water. If China ever decides to restrict the flow or manipulate it, the economic consequences could be devastating, potentially leading to food shortages and energy crises. On the other hand, China argues that its projects are meant for clean energy and regional development. But critics point out that China has a history of using infrastructure projects as tools of influence, particularly through its Belt and Road Initiative. This raises the question, are these dams just about electricity, or are they part of a broader strategy to establish dominance over Asia's most vital resource? Beyond economics and politics, there's also the human dimension. For families living along the Brahmaputra, life already comes with uncertainty because of frequent floods and shifting river courses. Adding man-made disruptions from massive dams only worsens their fears. Villages in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, for example, worry that sudden water releases from upstream could wipe out entire communities in minutes. In Bangladesh, a country already vulnerable to rising sea levels and cyclones, changes in river flow could threaten food security for millions. These are not abstract scenarios. They are real risks that ordinary people might face in the near future. Beyond economics and politics, there is also the human dimension. For families living along the Brahmaputra, life already comes with uncertainty because of frequent floods and shifting river courses. Adding man-made disruptions from massive dams only worsens their fears. Thoughtful villages in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, for example, worry that sudden water releases from upstream could wipe out entire communities in minutes. In Bangladesh, a country already vulnerable to rising sea levels and cyclones, changes in river flow could threaten food security for millions. These are not abstract scenarios. They are real risks that ordinary people might face in the near future. When we step back and look at the bigger picture, the so-called water war is not just about two countries fighting over a river. It is about a future where natural resources become weapons in global power struggles. Just as oil shaped politics in the 20th century, water may be the defining factor of the 21st. And unlike oil, there is no substitute for water. Without it, agriculture collapses, economies falter, and societies break down. That is what makes this story so urgent and so dangerous. While some experts argue that outright wars over water are unlikely, the reality is that water conflicts often manifest in other ways, through economic pressure, political tension, and environmental crises. The possibility of mistrust turning into confrontation cannot be ruled out, especially when both China and India are already locked in disputes along their shared border. Adding water to the list of tensions only raises the stakes higher. So here we are, standing at the edge of a future where water is no longer just a basic necessity, but a source of fear, conflict, and power. Whether this becomes a full-blown water war or remains a tense struggle will depend on the choices made today, choices about cooperation, diplomacy, and responsibility. But for now, the warning signs are clear. As China builds its dams and India counters with its own, the rivers of Asia are becoming battlegrounds of influence, and the lives of millions hang in the balance. In the end, this isn't just about dams or development. It's about the future of nations connected by rivers that ignore borders. China views its projects as progress, while India sees them as a threat. And smaller countries like Bangladesh and Bhutan fear being left vulnerable. My point of view is that water should never be used as a weapon. It is life itself, and if this conflict deepens, it will be ordinary people who suffer the most. Nations must choose cooperation over conflict, because only then can these rivers carry hope instead of fear. If you found this video helpful and want more deep insights on global issues, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.